And we are officially live. Welcome everyone to another episode of Authors Live. I'm super excited to have the wonderful Tessa Emily Hall with us tonight, which is so exciting. Thanks for joining us.
For inviting me on here. I'm excited. I've been looking forward to it all week.
Yeah, well, it's my honor to have you on here. I'm super excited. Before we get started, I'm just going to make sure that everything's working. I think we're good. I just want to make to ask in the chat box. You should see a little chat box on YouTube with your username with your YouTube account, and I'm going to go ahead and open that up so that I can see what you guys are saying. I'll be able to see your questions. Sadly, Tessa's not going to be able to see them from her side because however the technical stuff works. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I can see all of your questions. If you guys are joining in, please feel free to ask questions, and we're just going to have a great time. So while I'm making sure that the chat box is working, Tessa, why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself?
All right, so my name is Tessa Emily Hall, and I write young adult fiction and nonfiction for teenagers, Christian fiction. And I also work in the publishing industry. I'm an associate agent for Kyle Young at Heartline Literary Agency and a YA acquisitions editor for White House Publishing of the Carolinas. I work with their teen imprint called Illuminate. And I have a magazine called Pursue Magazine, and that is a Christian teen magazine for girls. So a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Well, as you can imagine, she's really busy. Like I was looking at your bio again tonight, just kind of thinking, I was like, how am I even going to introduce you? Because you do so much. I mean, you're an author, you're an editor, you've got your magazine going. And I know that you also do like a little bit of acting too, and like you do all kinds of fun stuff. So we have all sorts of amazing things to talk about tonight.
Yay.
So it's going to be a blast. All right, so we have some people joining in. We have Taylor's here. Hey, Taylor, welcome.
Hey.
And we've got Aaliyah, we have Courtney. Yeah, so welcome girls to our chat. And so guys, just feel free to ask whatever questions you want. We're just going to talk and hang out and of course talk about all sorts of fun little writing things. So like I said, I was looking over your bio and I was like, oh my goodness, where do we even begin? Because there's so much that you do and so much that you're involved with. So I guess my first question is, why did you start writing? Like, what is it that first interested you in getting into writing?
Well, I actually started writing not really writing, but dictating stories to my mom when I was 3 years old. And that's when my love for storytelling really was sparked. And anytime throughout my childhood, I would just write stories, and I just loved the process of losing myself in another character and just going on journeys and just, using my imagination and playing through the power of a pen. And anytime that someone would ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I always knew that I wanted to be an author. It's just I never doubted that I would become an author someday too. And so yeah, and whenever I was 13 years old, God laid it on my heart to write Christian stories for teenagers. But at the time, I had never even heard of the term Christian fiction. Like, I didn't know that there was a market for that.
Right.
And so one day, I remember just doing a Google search for Christian stories for teens, and I found all these books by the author Melody Carlson. I don't know if you know who she is. Yeah, she's written a lot of teen fiction. She used to. And I just read as many books by her as I could get my hands on. And I just fell in love with that genre because as a teenager, I would read so many books in the general market young adult fiction. Or actually, I would start reading it, but I couldn't get through it just because the content. Like, I didn't like it. Was an accurate portrayal of the teen culture, but it did it in a way that encouraged bad behavior and that sort of thing. So I could just never really get through some of the books that I would read, mainly in the contemporary genre. And so I loved how these books by Melody Carlson and Robin Jones Gunn, I just loved how, they reflected the teen culture in a way that didn't, talk down to teenagers and didn't preach at teenagers. And so from then on, like, I knew at 15, 14 years old that that's the genre that I wanted to write, inspirational yet authentic fiction for teenagers. You're frozen. not sure if I'm frozen or not. Hello.
Hey.
Hey. Okay.
Okay.
You're not frozen anymore. Was I frozen too?
You were. Yeah.
Okay. Where did I freeze? What point of the story?
You were just talking about Robin Johnson and getting into those kinds of books.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much when my desire to write for that genre really began. So
yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's really, really cool to hear. Like, I love to hear everyone's kind of origins and how they got inspired to start writing. We're getting some questions from the girls. Let's see. Taylor says, what is your all-time favorite contemporary YA book besides the amazing ones that you've written?
Oh, that's a really good question. It's really difficult for me to answer. I actually loved Glass Girl by Laura Anderson Kirk. I read that when I was a senior in high school, and it's a Christian fiction novel, and it's inspirational and it deals with really tough issues and tough topics, but she handles it so beautifully, and she is such an amazing storyteller. It was just amazing. I love that. And also there You'll Find Me by Jenny B. Jones too, for the same reasons. And I love Jenny B. Jones, her humor that she incorporates in fiction.
Yeah, those books are so fun.
Yes.
Definitely. We have Aaliyah here. She says hello.
Hi.
A different Aaliyah. We have two of them.
So Aaliyah Harper, she is my client at Heartline, if one of them is Aaliyah Harper.
Oh, cool. I think it is. Yes, that's
awesome. Hey, Leah. Both Leahs. You're frozen again. A little bit. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, you guys, again, sorry for like the Wi-Fi connection issues or whatever. So Ivy just commented and said it's kind of hard to hear me. So I'm sorry about that, guys. Hopefully you can hear. Hopefully it'll get better as we go along. So, but it looks like you guys are still commenting, hanging with us, and we haven't lost you. So that's wonderful. So I'm glad that we still have a connection. But yeah, so let's see. Courtney asked, Tessa, have you written any fantasy novels?
I have not written any fantasy. My heart is really with contemporary fiction. I can see myself someday maybe incorporating some kind of fantastical or supernatural elements into some of my books in a way that still remains contemporary. I don't know if you've ever read like James L. Rubart's books. He does a very good job at that, and I love that. I love when authors can write a story that is set in contemporary times, but then add those supernatural elements and stuff is a lot of fun. So I can see myself maybe doing that in the future, maybe a dystopian, even though that's not really fantasy, sci-fi. But for now, it's all just contemporary. I love contemporary fiction.
Yeah, and you have some books coming out this fall, which is exciting.
Yes. What's that? Sorry, you're breaking up.
What do you have coming
out? Okay, if I heard you correctly, the two books. Wait, what's that?
Go ahead.
Okay, so the two books that I have coming out this fall is Coffee Shop Divas, Pick Me Ups for Teen Girls, and also Fallen Leaves, which is a young adult inspirational fiction novel, and that is the sequel to Purple Moon, which is the first in the Purple Moon series. And Purple Moon released about 5 years ago whenever I was 19 years old. And Fallen Leaves, it continues her journey, but it can serve as a standalone novel as well. And Fallen Leaves is about 16-year-old named Selena, who is on a search for her dad and her brother in hopes of putting her family back together for the first time in 8 years. And it just follows the rest of her journey at a new school, an art school, and that sort of thing. So that's what that's about. And then the Coffee Shop Devos, that's a devotional for teen girls, and it's categorized by their daily needs. And there's also 5 additional coffee recipes that I've created, which I'm really excited about. That was a lot
of that's cool. I've been enjoying seeing all of your like little posts on Instagram, all your coffee theme stuff to get people excited for the book. It's fun.
Yeah, thank you. You're frozen again.
Thank you for hanging with us.
Okay, I think you're back.
We have a question. Okay, I was gonna ask, hi, lovely human, or a cute little
Wait, can you say that again?
Yeah, Tabby asks, she says, where are you from? She can hear your southern accent.
Yes, I'm from South Carolina, upstate South Carolina.
Cool. So were you born here?
Was that? Was I born here? I was born here.
Were you born? Yeah.
Yes.
We're getting closer.
At least I'm able to answer your questions.
So Martin Johnson, favorite writer.
What did you say?
Or someone asked, who is your favorite romance writer?
Okay, I loved it's not really romance, but I guess you could consider it romance. The Christy Miller series by Robin Jones Gunn. It had some romance in it, and it gets into being more of a romance as Christy, the main character, gets older into her adult years. But I loved her books. And also Rachel Hawk, I think that's how you pronounce her last name. I just read my first book by her, The Wedding Chapel, and that was amazing. I am so excited to finish reading all of her books. They look so good. She just had a movie actually come out on Hallmark that was adapted from her book, one of her books.
Oh, that's awesome. That sounds fun.
Yeah, she's a really good writer.
Very cool. So Taylor says, I'm so excited for Fallen Leaves. Mm-hmm. Courtney says Fallen Leaves sounds so good.
Oh, thanks. Yay.
So Purple Moon was your first book that was published, right?
Yes. I wrote that
so what was that? Yeah, I was just going to say, what was that like? Because you were so young when it was first published, correct?
Yes, right. Yeah, so I wrote it when I was 16, and I was actually offered the contract when I was 16 also. I held the contract for 6 months just to really pray about it because this was my first time entering the publishing industry. I didn't know anything about it really. I just met the publisher at my first writing conference, and I just wanted to pray about it to make sure that I was doing the right thing that God wanted me to do. And I was continuing to learn so much about the writing craft that I kept going back to my manuscripts and making changes and editing it and everything just based on what I was learning. And so I held that for about 6 months. And so I signed the contract when I was 17 years old. And then I was so afraid to let it go. Even though my goal was initially to get published by the time that I graduated high school, I was so afraid to release it just because I wanted it to be as good as it could be while I was, where I was in my writing craft, or in my how much I knew with the writing craft and everything. I wanted to make sure that it was edited and everything. And so I didn't send it to my editor until I was 18. And then the book came out a year later when I was 19.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I love your story is encouraging young people to be able to pursue their dreams because you did, like God opened up these doors when you were so young. And I think that's something that really encouraging encouraging for a lot of people who follow you that are younger. I know a lot of the girls watching this right now are younger. And so what advice would you give to younger writers? Because there's so much out there. There's so much information. There's so many blogs and, there's just a ton of advice. What's like the one thing that you would really encourage young writers?
I love encouraging young writers. I love teaching writing to them and just really preparing them to enter the publishing industry. I would say don't just treat it like a hobby, even though it's nice to not have to have a contract at your age and have deadlines that you have to meet. It's nice to have writing be a hobby and just be able to go at your own pace. But do treat it, if you want to pursue it seriously someday, then try to treat it as a career by going ahead and building the foundation and taking the right steps toward actually pursuing it, whether you want to pursue it while you're still a teenager or whether you want to pursue it later in your life. There's still ways that you can go ahead and get a head start. And so you can, study the crafts, read books on the writing craft, follow blogs, and get involved in a writing community. There's a lot of communities out there that's geared for teen writers. I know there's goteenwriters.blogspot.com. It's a great, or it's probably .com now. It's an amazing community for young writers. And I know there's a Facebook group for them as well. TheYoungWriter.com by Brett Harris, Jaquel Crow. That's an amazing place and community for young writers. And so just get involved in the community, find critique partners that can really help you hold you accountable in writing, and also you can each sharpen each other with your manuscripts, and try to go to writing conferences or writing workshops whenever you can. Just build your education in that way, and really research the industry, research how the publishing process works, because I know a lot of people who always aspire to be an author, but they never take the necessary steps toward pursuing it, mainly because they don't know how to become an author, and they sort of see it as if it's this impossible feat. Everyone wants to become an author someday, and so yeah, you just need to know how people do become an author. Just study the industry, and so I always tell people to read, research, and write. So read as many books as you can, especially in the genre that you want to write in, and research the craft, research the industry, stay up to date with the publishing trends, and also try to build your platform while you can. As a teenager, you can start a blog, social media accounts if your parents let you do that sort of thing, and then write. So write as much as you can. You might have to make sacrifices. You might have to cut out some time, watching Netflix or being on social media, but it's really all about perseverance. So you might want to make big picture goals, and then say that you want to have your book complete within a year, and then break that down so that you can meet that goal. So give yourself smaller goals that you can meet each month, that you can work toward each week. And you can even give yourself a word count goal, or say that you'll work on your book like for 2 hours on Saturday, whatever helps you to be able to really finish a book. And you learn really by writing is the best way that you can learn how to write a book, is by finishing a book. So I know when I was in middle school, I would start so many stories and I would never finish them because I would go off on another tangent, on another story idea. And so if you do have story ideas, it's a good idea to keep a list of those stories, but just really focus on one book until you can complete it. And it's really just all about perseverance and self-discipline.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're frozen.
That's really great advice. Back, maybe. We've got some more questions, so yeah, maybe no. Hey, great question. Raymond. Help a lot. Yes, I know that.
So I'm not sure.
That is so true.
Wait.
Are you back? I think I think you're back now, right?
Yes, I think you are too.
Okay. Yeah, we've had quite the time with the connection tonight.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, what were you saying that
Yeah.
question?
Oh, yeah, we have a couple more questions. Let's see here. Okay, Penny Tritt says, tell us more about the teen devotional book. Is there an underlying theme? What are the devotionals based on?
So the underlying theme is really, I wrote it to try to draw teenagers closer to God, so that they can build a relationship with Christ while they're still a teenager. And so I give spiritual parallels with coffee and with having a relationship with Jesus. And so I had the idea mainly because I just love coffee. And so whenever I first had the idea to write a coffee themed book, I wrote down all um, the different parallels that came to me, the different analogies with coffee and having a consistent relationship with Jesus, and having quiet time and that sort of thing. And there were so many different parallels that I ended up finding. So that's the main topic of the book and the main theme of it. And then the book is categorized into 10 different everyday needs that teenagers have. So, and it's also laid out like in the table of contents. I like to refer to it as a menu of contents because each chapter, each topic has a coffee drink that goes along with it. So, mocha is inspiration for the soul. And then frappe is encouragement to be yourself. And then espresso is joy for the moment. Flat white is strength to carry on. And that's sort of it. Oh, decaf is for rest something I can't remember. But so there's 10 chapters like that, and then there's 18 devotions within each of those chapters, and then one coffee recipe for each coffee drink that's in there. So I have coffee recipe for flat white, for cappuccino, for a latte, for even espresso, and yeah, and you can actually get 5 extra coffee recipes for those who pre-order the book and then forward me the receipt, and you can also sign up for my newsletter at tessaemilyhall.com, and all of my newsletter subscribers will gain access to my For Readers page. And on that page, I include bonus content for each one of my books, including Coffee Shop Divas. So, and
That's
you can,
exciting.
on that page too, you can enter into a giveaway, a monthly giveaway to receive a gift card for Amazon.
Nice. Well, that's fun. You guys will definitely have to check that out. That's really cool. I love that your coffee theme. Like, kind of for me, like when I looked at the cover, I was like, oh, it's coffee. Like everyone loves coffee, but to actually hear the story behind it, that it's literally so closely connected with a beverage everybody loves.
Yeah.
It's fun. So, for watching, do you prefer coffee? So, yeah, if you guys want to talk about that, let's see. Taylor, so give us any hints about what we'll see from you after those and fall news are released.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question? You were a little broken up.
Says, next from you. Can you give us any hints what we'll see after we shot Devos and Fallen Leaves?
Okay. So I'm actually working in my spare time. I'm working on a book, a standalone book, that's a young adult fiction contemporary novel. And also, I'm working on brainstorming the third book in the Purple Moon series, and another nonfiction devotional book too. So I don't have set releases or anything like that because those are all just in the planning stages. But hopefully you'll hear something within the next year about my next projects.
That's exciting. Very cool.
Mm.
Courtney says, I already entered the giveaway.
Aw, thank you. Yay.
Fun. All right, I think I missed a couple questions. Martin asks, as an agent, what are the platform numbers that you look for?
Okay, so I get asked this question a lot. Basically, I don't like to focus on numbers. I really like to focus on whether or not the author is on social media, if they're actively being consistent and trying to build their following and post consistent content, um, and engage with their followers as well. And if everything online, their website and their social media channels, if that's reflected, if their brand is reflected, and if if it's obvious that they know who their target audience is as well based on the content that they post. So I know typically publishers, they don't say, okay, if this person has like 7,000 followers on Twitter, then we'll give them a book contract. That is definitely a plus if they can have a lot of followers, but they're mainly looking at, is this person consistently being active in building their platform? Consistency is really the key, and do they understand like how to market their book, and also of course they focus on the writing as well. So try not to focus so much on platform that you forget, to make sure that you have a good book, and so you really want to make sure that the book can sell to your market, to your target audience, and that there's a market for it, and that the writing is up to par and everything. So yeah, just make sure that you have a good premise for your book. We always, as agents, we always look at the book idea. We see if this book can be sold in today's market. We look at the writing itself and the platform as well. So those three things are the main thing, and also if the author understands how to market their book too.
Yeah, that's because you just hear so much, just in general. Focus on platform. So as authors, you can feel like, oh no, like I need to have X amount of followers. So that's great to hear. A more well-rounded representation of what you're looking for. It's not just a numbers game.
It can get so overwhelming too, especially when you're so focused on trying to build your numbers. And there's a lot of programs out there that you can sign up for that can just automatically give you all these random followers. But we don't want you to have just random followers just so you can have higher number. We're looking for, we want to see that the people who are following you are the people that is within your target audience, not just random people off the internet. So it's really important that you understand who your audience is and that you're actively being engaged with them too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good. I think that's focusing on your niche audience, like to focus on just one person, because I don't know how many people I've heard say, "Oh, well, my book is for everyone," and I don't really know. Like it's for grandma and it's for the little sister, and like that's really great. Like everyone can enjoy it, but it's so important to know the one person that you're writing for.
Right.
And I would think that as agents, you guys would probably feel the same way.
It's so true. You have to be specific and have a more narrow audience so we know who exactly your book is targeted to. Because if you're saying like your book can be for everyone, then that really means that it's for no one.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good. Very cool. Well, I hope you guys are getting some stuff out of our conversation tonight. Hopefully the iffy connection hasn't been too bad for you guys. We have a question from Aaliyah. She says, do you write and edit your books before submitting them to publishers? Or since you're a published author, do you just send a proposal and sample chapters?
Oh, I definitely write the book and edit it and make sure that it's polished. With Fallen Leaves, I was able to write the sample chapters and the synopsis first before it was contracted, and then finish the manuscript. But that's, well, with Coffee Shop Devos, since that's nonfiction, I didn't write the entire book before I got the contract, because nonfiction is different from fiction. So I didn't finish that until after I signed the contract. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, I have to write the full manuscript. Like with Melody, I write the full manuscripts, and then I really focus on editing the book. And then I put the proposal together, and then the agent sends it.
Yeah, that's great. So I know that we have a lot of people who are already published authors, be it self-publishing or they're really close to, working with traditional publishing and things like that. What would you say as far as marketing advice? Because I know that oftentimes it can feel really overwhelming, for book sales. Like, how do you get it out there? So, like for you personally, what are some marketing tips that you have for people who maybe don't like marketing or don't know how to go about that?
Yeah, marketing is really difficult. It's a lot of fun though, I think. I know a lot of authors, they don't enjoy marketing. But for me, it's fun to think of new creative ideas, of ways to get my books in the hands of readers. But I always advise, so in book proposals, a lot of people write just generic marketing strategies. Like when my book is released, then I will have book signings and I will do an Instagram campaign, and just generic ideas. And it's usually only a very small paragraph. But with my authors at Heartline, I really like to make a, a longer marketing plan, something that they can put into action once their book is complete. And I like to do this in a way that's categorized by the type of marketing. So, online marketing and print marketing, um, TV, radio, that sort of thing. And then they can list about, 5 things beneath each section, ways that they will promote the book in that different category. And so that way it's more of an action plan that they can do once the book is released. It's more of a marketing plan, and it shows the publisher that they understand how to market a book. And so whenever it is time for me to market a book, I approach it that way too. Um, I make an overall marketing goal, and I try to start way in advance, like even 9 months in advance. And I just categorize it, break it down and categorize it by the different ways, speaking and online marketing and blogging and that sort of thing. And then I just write down some overall goals that I have in each of those sections. Um, but I want to write down things that only I know that I can do, not something that is out of my comfort zone or something that might be too challenging or too out there. Because of course you could just write down anything, but you have to stick with like what your strengths are and what you're passionate about as well, because those are the areas that will really be able to market a book, and you don't want to put too much on you that you can't handle too. And so once I have that, then I like to break it down by creating monthly goals, and I take those goals in the marketing plan that I created, and then I put them into the month. So I'll do 3 months before the book is released. Then I want to start, an Instagram campaign or something like that, and so I break it down month by month up until the month that the book actually releases. And then even from there, I'll break it down even further into weekly goals. And this really helped with Purple Moon. I'm trying to do it now with Coffee Shop Devos also. I'm not as on top of it as I would like to be, but it really does help for you because there's so much. Marketing can get so overwhelming at times, and there's so much that you have to focus on. And as an author, you really do have to market your book. You can't just, think that the publisher is just going to market it for you, which they will, but they really trust that the author will help to sell it as well. Um, so yeah, it just really helps to have the big picture marketing goals in mind and do this way in advance. And that way you can know whether or not you're on track and what you should do like 2 months before the release. And that way you don't miss anything too. Because that's happened to me before. Time would go by and I would realize I really should be marketing this book. So it's getting closer to the release. And I'll just forget some things. So it helps to write it down. I hope that helps.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's great advice. I mean, I love the idea of taking something so big and just putting it into bite-sized pieces and setting those individual goals so that you have a track to run on and you have, things that you can actually work towards. So that's super, super good advice.
Especially if you just focus on your strength and your passions, and also when you can think about how much time that you can actually invest into marketing per week too. So you want to keep that in mind whenever you're writing your goals also.
That's really good. Awesome. Very cool. So I have like this whole page of questions and things I was going to ask you. So let me see what else I have on here. Oh, this is a good one. So how did you become an agent, especially at such a young age? Like I just find that so fascinating that the Lord opened up those doors for you. So how did that come about? And are you enjoying it? I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure you are. You wouldn't be doing it if you weren't enjoying it. But
I love on the publishing industry as well as writing. Like I love working with other writers and helping their dreams come true too, and playing a role in getting books into the hands of the readers and getting published and that sort of thing. So I love, working for both Illuminate and Heartline. But so as a teenager, I had the idea, like dream that I would like to become a literary agent someday. Um, I wasn't sure if it was actually ever going to happen, but I always have enjoyed the idea of helping to play a role in another writer in their dream, in their publishing dream coming true. And I just love books and I love the publishing industry. And so one day, a few years ago, whenever I was at a conference, I was talking with my writing friend, Kyle Young, who I work for now. And he was just a writer back then. And we knew each other just from going to writing conferences. And so we were at this conference, and he mentioned that the idea that he would like to start up his own agency someday. And I told him that, I've always been interested in being an agent. So I told him just to let me know, like, if he was looking for help or anything once he started that. And so it's funny because that very week at that conference, an agent from Heartline approached him, and they knew of him just because he had won so many writing awards. It was crazy how many writing awards that he won at this writing conference, and he was a published author and everything. And they told him that they were searching for a new agent to add to their team, and if he would be interested in being an agent with them that very week. And so it's really cool. A few months after that, I ended up being his client, and then he invited me to be an intern with him. And then so I was an intern with him for about 9 months, and then he promoted me to junior agent, and then to associate agent, which is what I am now. But so I work with about 20 authors.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's fun.
Very cool. So here's a great question. How do you do everything that you do? Because I know that I sometimes will sit back and just be a little amazed and just like, wow, she gets a lot done. So what does like a typical day look like for you?
I don't really have that much of a typical day or even a typical schedule. I really try to have a consistent schedule, but it's tough because my days just look different. And so basically, I go into the week knowing what needs to be done that week. And, if I have any deadlines that are due and that sort of thing. And I've tried to keep a planner, but those planners end up not being big enough pretty much. Even bullet journals. Like I never was able to stick with a bullet journal. I wish I could though. So basically, I live by my to-do list every day. I will write down, I'll actually categorize. I like to categorize things and make lists. So I'll categorize the different jobs that I work for, like Pursue Magazine and Illuminate and Heartline, and also my own writing and marketing. And then I'll, just add tasks that need to be done. And I'll put a star next to the ones that have to be done that day. I'll put an asterisk next to the ones that are important but don't necessarily have to be done that day. And then just a dash for, the other ones that are less important. And then I really just go from there. Like I like to schedule social media in the mornings because I think social media is really important. So I schedule that in the mornings, and then I go off to answer emails, as many as I can after that. And then once that's done, then I just look at my list and I focus on whatever it is that's the most important. Like this week has been really focused on Pursue Magazine because it's our deadline for the fall issue that's releasing in October. And so I've been really focusing on that and also preparing workshops that I'm teaching at a conference next week. and the next week after that, I think. So I just focus on what's most important. And it also really helps that I am working with other people too. So even though it looks like a lot on paper, I'm not the only one who's doing all this stuff. Like, I am working with other people who can help take some of the responsibility off of me. I have an amazing pub board at Illuminate and amazing team at Pursue Magazine and associate editor Rayleigh. And then at Heartline, I work with Kyle and all the interns that work for him and stuff. So yeah, I don't know how I do it really, but it's a lot of fun. Like, it's how my brain works, and people might think that it's just too much, but I make sure not to commit to things that I can't commit to.
Right. Yeah. That's really good. That's fun. I love hearing like how people I'm kind of a nerd, but I love hearing like how people get organized because everyone's so different, and
Yeah.
I just think it's fascinating like how everyone plans their days and stuff. Cool.
Yeah, I like to hear that too, and to get inspiration and to try those whatever way that works for them. But it's hard for me because I just always end up going back to my to-do list.
Yeah. It just feels so good to scratch it off the list.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, I was just checking our questions real quick. See if there's anything new. I feel like I've missed some things, so sorry, you guys. If you ask a question that we missed in the chat box, please feel free to resend it so that we can see it and Tessa can answer your questions. As you guys have heard, she has a lot going on. She does a lot of things. She's very talented in a lot of areas. How about your magazine? That's exciting. I know that we talked about before, like the inspiration behind it and how you started it, but why don't you share with everyone how Pursue Magazine was started?
Yeah, so actually, whenever I was about 11 years old, my friends and I, we ran this online Christian newsletter for preteens, and we had about 150 subscribers.
Oh, cool.
And we just sent this newsletter that we created through email. And it was so much fun, though, and it was Christian, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. We sent it every week on Sundays, and that's really when the desire to start a magazine someday was sparked for me. I really enjoyed, encouraging other girls through the newsletters. And so whenever I was about 14 years old, I was reading Ecclesiastes, and it was Ecclesiastes 11:9, and it was in my Message Bible. And it says, those of you who are young, relish your youthful vigor. If something looks good to you, pursue it. But know also that not just anything goes, you have to answer to God for every last bit of it. And that really stood out to me, especially the words pursue. And at the time, I wasn't going to school. I had done an online school whenever I was 14 years old so that I could pursue writing more seriously. And so that verse really encouraged me where I was then, because at the time I was wondering, like, if I really am doing what God wants me to do by treating my writing seriously and going ahead and trying to pursue it while I was a teenager. So that really encouraged me, and I kind of felt God telling me that I am in His will and that I'm doing what He wants me to do. And by pursuing writing, but also pursuing Him first. And so that day, I ended up writing Pursue Magazine in big letters in my notebook. And I knew that someday I would like to start a magazine for Christian teen girls called Pursue Magazine. And that's just always been in me. One of my, I have so many different dreams, but that's always been a dream of mine as a teenager. And I was just waiting for God to open the right doors. And finally, a few years ago, I think it was actually 2015, 2016. I think it was 2015 is whenever I started taking steps towards actually launching the magazine myself with a few friends of mine. And we just did it through creating our blog. And we have other writers who help to contribute to it. And the whole mission behind the magazine is I want to encourage teenagers to make the most of their youth, like the scripture says, to make the most of their youth by pursuing their God-given calling, but making sure also to keep the last part of that verse in mind, which says to put God first in it and to pursue a relationship with Christ first, and to make the most of your youth, make the most of your teen years. by, building that relationship with him and pursuing the gifts and talents that he's given you and trying to discover your calling. Um, and so that's really the whole mission behind the magazine. And so we started the blog, we launched it, I think it was January 2016. And I always knew that I wanted it to someday be a real magazine because it was just a blog then. And so about a year later, spring 2017, we launched our first digital issue on Amazon. And then a year after that, we launched our other spring issue on Amazon as well. And then this fall, we have another issue coming out. And then so we're going to start releasing bi-yearly. And also, I'm hoping that this fall we'll be able to offer it in print since it's just been digital so far. But I'm hoping that it'll be print this fall.
Yeah, that's so fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Very cool. Well, I have gotten many emails over the years from young girls who desire to start a magazine, and it's amazing how many people that the Lord has put that in their heart. So what advice would you give to any girl who is very interested in wanting to start a magazine?
That's really interesting. I didn't realize that girls were interested, that so many girls were interested in.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Like, I feel like I've gotten so many people that have asked that, and it's like, wow, I didn't realize, because there's really not a lot out there right now, and so it's interesting to see it rising up more.
Well, really, just to start, I would tell them to focus on trying to build that platform first, because in that readership, that's why we started the blog, was just so we could go ahead and build a readership, and just to make sure that you have a good team with you, and good writers and any other editors, associate editor, and then designers as well. You want to make sure that it's really good quality and that you have proofreaders on your articles as well. Yeah, that's the whole thing, is that if you want to launch a magazine and do it the way that I did it through like self-publishing, then just like if an author is trying to self-publish their books, it's awesome, but you want to make sure that everything is good quality, from the cover to the articles and that sort of thing, and then just try to build that readership as well through social media and blogs and that sort of thing. And I've found, like, even though print magazine people think that is dying, I've found that people do still like to read print magazines, including myself. And actually, Brio magazine, the teen Christian magazine with focus on the family, that discontinued several years ago, but they just launched it again last year. And I think nowadays is good timing to get into it because you can sort of use media as well. So you can interact with your readers on social media and blog and other forms of media, not just the print magazine. So I think that's an advantage that we have nowadays that, other magazine publishers didn't have a long time ago, even just 10 years.
Yeah, it must have been very hard for marketing. Like, it's weird to go back and think about the days before the internet, and it's like, how did people do anything?
I know, and then even authors, like, they weren't able to have a relationship with their readers unless they had book signings. And, the readers would send them fan mail in the mail, and they would just write letters by hand, which is pretty cool, but they weren't able to have, a real interaction with them. And so I think that's what makes social media so cool nowadays. You can really have that connection with your readers.
Definitely. Yeah, that's really, really awesome. We are very blessed to be living in the times that we are. It just gives everyone an opportunity, when you're following the Lord, just to kind of echo his words and to speak truth, and that, you can make that difference and impact in the world where there's obviously a lot of negative messages. Just the fact that you get to be the light and share that with people, I think that's why we love encouraging young people to just go for it, because the Lord's using, the social media and the internet and all these different tools that we have at our hands that we never had before. So.
Yeah, and a lot of authors, they're intimidated by the idea of having a platform and having to post on social media. But if they do approach it with that kind of mindset, with the mindset of like, this is another way to find readers, to reach readers, to inspire them and encourage them, especially Christian writers, if that's their goal through the books that they write, that's their goal, to inspire them and encourage them and that sort of thing, then you can also do that through social media. You can apply that there as well. And that's why I personally love social media, is because I can post that kind of content and directly connect with the readers. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And I love what you said earlier too, as far as with marketing, like to do what you're passionate about, because I don't think you have to do everything. Like I don't even know if it's
Yeah,
possible to do everything.
yeah, that would go crazy probably if I tried doing everything. Just really focus on what you are passionate about, what will work and what you're good at. And then also try to find ways that you can have other people help you by having a street team and even paying for services or advertisements that might help, so that you can focus most of your time on writing instead of marketing, especially if you're the type of writer who isn't interested in marketing.
Yeah, definitely. So let's see. I think I had a couple other questions here, and you guys still feel free to ask more questions if you guys have any. Courtney says the magazine from Brio is so amazing. That's cool. I have not looked at it yet, but I'm sure it's really awesome. I love the old Brio.
I love it.
Very cool. Okay, so I think we already talked about a lot of things here. Oh, what about your speaking? I know that you speak at a lot of conferences, and I looked at the schedule of I think it's Right to Ignite that's coming
Yeah.
up, and I was like, whoa, Tessa has her hands full.
I
Like,
know, that's only 2 days, and I'm doing so many things. Or I'm teaching workshops for adults, but then I think I'm giving 2 keynote addresses to teenagers, which that'll be my first time actually doing a teen workshop for that conference. I've done it in other conferences in the past. So yeah, I love going to conferences and connecting with other writers and other, publishing professionals and teaching workshops. I love that. So I love conferences in general. Even before I was on faculty, I would go to so many of them, and just because it was fun, it's always been like a vacation to me, and I love gleaning from other writers too, and taking notes and getting business cards and that sort of thing. So I have one I'm doing next week, and then another one after that in North Carolina. So the first one is Georgia Christian Writers Conference, and then the one after that is North Carolina Christian Writers Conference, and then the one that you're looking at is Right to Ignite.
Cool. Very fun. So, what kind of advice would you give to someone who's interested in speaking? Because I know that a lot of authors love to. Oh, hey, just a second. I'm going to just block someone real quick. I think I can do that. Does it work? Yeah. Okay. So anyway, yeah, it works. All right. So, what kind of advice would you give to maybe in that? How do you start, going about that? Because I know that it kind of feels like you have to like jump over a bridge or something. It's like, how do you get from here to there and actually start speaking at conferences?
Well, it's always was my desire as a teenager to eventually be a speaker, especially for teenagers. I just love going to schools and youth groups and homeschool groups and speaking to them and just encouraging them to make the most of their youth, pursue their gifts, and really just pursue a relationship with Christ while they're a teenager. So that was always a desire of mine, but I had a huge fear of doing that. Like I had a huge fear of speaking, and even the idea of that made me so nervous. And so once my book was released, I was 19 years old, and I really wanted to promote it by speaking and going to schools and that sort of thing, but I was just too afraid, and I wasn't ready. And so I kept praying about it, but I knew that God was leading me in that direction. He wanted me to take that step and to do it even though I was afraid. And so about a year after my book release, that's whenever I had my first speaking engagement. And the way I approached that, I started small. It was just a small homeschool group, and I spoke for about like 20 minutes maybe, and I had my outline, and PowerPoints really helped too. And so I had my outline, my PowerPoint, and I just spoke the message that God gave me, and it was crazy how much peace that He gave me, even leading up to that speaking engagement. Like
Yeah.
somehow I was able to, once I made the decision to take that step and just to trust that He would help me, then I was able to approach it with so much confidence and so much more peace than I thought I would have. And um, and so that was the beginning of when I really started going to speaking places. So for those of you who might be interested in speaking, I would advise doing the same thing. If God is leading you to be a speaker, then just start small and take one step at a time. Do what you can, and you can write your outlines, do your PowerPoint presentation, just whatever really works for you. And then, yeah, just start small, and then it can grow over time. And then just, even if you're afraid, like, just trust that God will help you and that He'll give you the words. And He really does. And He gives you peace too.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, I hope that we have some aspiring speakers out there to listen to that advice. That's really, really great. Well, awesome. So if you guys have any more questions, please feel free to ask. I'm going to see if I have one more here. I kind of have like just some like random questions that I thought would be fun to ask you. So here's just some random like quick fire questions.
Okay. Hey.
What's your favorite ice cream?
Oh, that's a great question. So I can't really have dairy. I'm not supposed to, and I'm allergic to gluten too. So I like to have the So Delicious brand of ice cream, and my
Oh,
favorite kind of that to get is the chocolate peanut butter. That's always been my favorite kind of ice cream. Chocolate peanut butter is my favorite. I mean, I love like brownie flavored ice cream too, but nothing beats chocolate peanut butter for me.
that's
So
so good.
yeah,
Have you ever had I've had like peanut butter, but then also has pretzels in it
peanut butter and what?
and pretzels.
Oh, no, I don't think I've ever had that. That sounds good, though. I
Yeah,
love
it
peanut
is
I'll eat peanut butter out of the jar. I love it.
really.
And I especially love peanut butter and dark chocolate. Dark chocolate is
Yes, for sure. So the next question is, if you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what food would you pick?
That's a really hard question. I mean, it sounds so stupid, but I love avocado toast. Like, that's such a bland choice, but seriously, that's probably my favorite thing to eat. And I love, gosh, I don't know. Like, that's the only thing that can come to mind right now is avocado toast, but I would really have to think about that because that's hard. And I love salads too. I like to make a big salad. I've been eating a lot of salad recently, actually, just because I love it. Especially whenever it has hummus in it. It's really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, if you choose avocado, like that's perfect because then you'll be healthy. And if
Yeah,
that's the one food you're surviving on, I think that would be a good.
good question though, because like if I only ate avocado toast, that wouldn't be very nutritious. I mean, it's healthy, but I wouldn't be getting all of my
Yeah.
vitamins. So I guess if I really had to choose, I would choose salad.
Yeah, because you can put all kinds of stuff on it. Yeah. And then my last random question: if you had to move to another country and live there the rest of your life, what country would you
That's hard because I haven't really been to Bali, Indonesia this past spring. That was my first time going out of the country, other than the Bahamas.
pick?
But I would love to visit France. I would love to go to Paris someday, and it looks so amazing there and so pretty. And I would love to get some coffee and pastries. And yeah, I think I would like
That sounds perfect.
that.
Very cool. All right. Well, looks like we don't have any more questions. So yeah, I might need to refresh it, but if we miss again, you guys, if we miss any of your questions, I am sorry about that. But thank you so much for watching, everyone. Thank you for sticking with us through our technical difficulties. I'm glad that our internet finally cleared up or whatever
Yeah.
later on the second half of our chat. But thank you so much, Tessa, for taking the time to talk and share all of your wonderful advice about various things. And just your general encouragement. So you guys be sure to go follow Tessa if you're not already connected with her. So where can people get connected with you?
Yeah, so they can sign up for my newsletter at tessaemilyhall.com, and also my social media is listed on my website, but it's all Tessa Emily Hall on all of my social media accounts, Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And Instagram is my favorite. So just Tessa Emily Hall.
Perfect. Easy to find. Yeah. And so you guys be sure to check out her books and be on the lookout for Coffee Shop Divas coming out in September, right?
Yes,
Soon.
September 18th.
Wow. Yeah, that's going to be here before we know it. So
Yeah.
that's super exciting. Very cool. Well, thank you guys again so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to this channel because we're going to be having more author live episodes with various authors. Be sure to go back and look at the other authors we've interviewed because we've talked to all sorts of fun, inspirational people that I think you would enjoy listening to. So be sure to check that out. And thank you guys so much. Hope you all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.
Of course.
Okay.
Okay. It's still ending. It may have